Hey guys, it is me, Simone. In this video, I'm going to show you how I embellish some of my items and give you guys some cool tips and tricks. So let's get started. Right now, I'm actually talking. I was actually going to make this video a kind of craft with me live chat, but I decided I would just speed it up and give you the tips and tricks doing a voiceover. So let's get started. Right now, I'm starting off with layering tips. So what I do normally is I use a plain paper in my background if I'm going to have a lot of busy embellishments in the foreground, and then I will use a um, busy paper in the background and I have plain, more simple designs up front. I think it's a nice jumping off point. Another cool thing is if you do have a busier pattern in the background, you can tone it down by using like some see-through paper like vellum or acetate. Depending on the acetate, mostly be vellum, like a cloudy vellum will help tone it down. Or you can mat cardstock on top of it to only have bits and pieces of the busy pattern peeking through. Now I'm keeping with a more monotone kind of color scheme, so keeping with the pinks and salmon like pink colors and adding hints of other colors here and there. If you're new to crafting and you're new to adding and layering and pattern matching and all kind of stuff like that, I recommend just getting like a collection and keeping that collection and using that to help you as a base if you don't think you can effectively match papers. I'm keeping this pretty plain, but you can go really crazy with this. I just want to give you guys a jumping off point. All right, after I do that, I'm talking about adding texture. I think texture is such a pretty thing to add to your projects. I love adding texture to it. So right now I have some visual texture, which is that pink kind of chunky glitter paper. It looks like chunky glitters on it, but it's flat. And then I have this almost like a creamish color paper that I'm going to use, which is glitter paper, to add a visual texture and then adding physical texture. I think it adds more interest, and of course the shininess and the reflectiveness of these pieces really add extra like bling and touch to your projects. So I'm gonna hot glue this, and you notice another thing I'm doing right now with my layering is I'm making sure things kind of offset, cutting things smaller than some things or cutting things bigger than others. Right now I'm going to mat her on this circle I have. I'm matting her so she can stand out a little bit more and won't get too lost or look kind of just weirdly placed on that glitter paper. So you see all my layers now. I'm kind of moving things off to the corner. I have some of my papers kind of like diagonal or pushed into a certain way. And the closer you get to like the front of the closer I like add my layers to, let's say, myself, I pull them to a corner because most people will tell you that putting everything in the middle doesn't look as like aesthetically pleasing as putting things off into a corner or having slightly in the middle. And if you just pay attention, sometimes when people make cards, a lot of times the main elements won't always be directly in the middle. They might be close or somewhat on, but they'll be a little bit off to one side or slightly off. It just depends on the artist. But sometimes you will see people who just put it right in the middle. It just depends on the piece. It's more of a suggestion to get more interest, but it's not a hard, fast rule. Right now, I'm talking about these flowers. When I added clusters and embellishments, I do them in odd numbers, so 3s, 5s, 7s, etc. I normally don't do anything more than 5s because it's a lot of stuff to add. But the reason I do this is because odd numbers, they said odd clusters just look better. Like if you go into a home decor store, if you look in a home like a decor magazine, a lot of times you're going to see people do elements of odds, like for vases and things like that on counters. And then they're going to do symmetry, because when you do symmetry, it makes the pieces look more cohesive. Right now, I'm having issue. I want to add these little gold corners on my piece, but they're going to cover the flowers. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to add them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide them back a little bit, so I'm not covering the flowers, but still on the corners. And to make sure I still have that cohesiveness, I'm going to do it to the adjacent corner, so it doesn't look like just I accidentally glued it, offset or anything. But moving back, so I do things like odds, threes or so. So that's what I'm doing right now with the goat corners. I'm pushing it back just a little bit. And I'm gonna do on the other side. And the sides that don't have flowers on them, I'm going to just put them how they regularly supposed to be. Okay. But you don't have to do this. It's completely optional to have clusters, but I feel it looks better. It just makes a little more cohesion in your piece. And it doesn't look like you just add a bunch of random stuff. Now you can add different elements to your clusters, whether it be colors or something. Like if I add like a green circle on one place, I don't have the same green circle, I could add a green triangle. I'm still keeping it kind of symmetrical or similar by having the colors repeat in each cluster, even if the elements don't repeat in each cluster. So my thing is just pick an item that you want to repeat in every cluster that you're going to add to your piece, and then keep doing that. You don't have to repeat every item in every cluster, but key bits and pieces will help out making sure your clusters look cohesive. And normally I do add about 3 clusters, which I'm going to add right here by her foot. I'm going to add another bundle of 3 flowers. And I'm going to do 1 white flower and 2 pink flowers. For me, when I do clusters too, I'm cluster items, not really colors, unless I'm doing what I mentioned earlier, if I'm trying to add a pink label, or I'm going to keep that throughout. But when I'm adding like flowers, I just make sure I have 3 flowers or 3, whatever I'm going to do, and keep going. I'm not really nitpicking about that, because technically I only have I have 2 pink flowers in each cluster, and that's even. But overall, I have 3 flowers, which is odd. I don't go about thinking that hard about it. It's not that serious. Another thing I'm talking about too is movement. I have 3 clusters, and they're kind of like an L shape or a triangle shape. A lot of people use this as a way to create movement through your piece and direct the person's eye through your piece in the way that you want them to see it. You can do this, you don't have to. I sometimes don't add 3 clusters, sometimes I'll just add 2 clusters because the piece is small. Like in cards, I'll add clusters of sequence, but sometimes I can't add 3 clusters, I can only add 2. So without trying to cram it. So basically, you just evaluate each circumstance and realistically apply what will fit. And right here, I'm adding my statements. I'm not counting out 7 or 10 statements or nothing. I'm just grabbing what I like and going about my day. I ignore the rules, sometimes I go by the rules. But I'm playing around, and of course, just take your time. Take pictures of the elements, walk away, take a break, and come back and finish it. You don't have to do everything in one set. It's okay. Now I'm going to add my sentiment, and to bring the frame more into my piece, I'm going to put the word, it's going to say hello beautiful on it. And I'm using a similar color to what I have in the piece, I think. It's the same color. Hold on, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah. So the same color, of course, like I used to back my fairy, is the color I'm going to use to put the hello beautiful. And that's pretty much it. I hope this was helpful and you got some cool tips and tricks and advice on layering and embellishing. And I will see what you guys make. I'll leave all my links I can to everything I use with the dies and stamps. Of course, that fairy stamp is in clearance, so she might not be there, but I will link her just in case you want to get her. Much love, and I'll talk to you there. Bye. Get crafty. It would be much different. I'll make a video talking about the steps and tips I need to do that. So I hope this was helpful. Give me some cool tips and tricks and some further suggestions. You don't have to use them, but